Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. So this is phase 5 of 5 primary phases that I see couples go through. This is partners series. If you haven't watched them, I highly encourage for you to watch it from partner video number 1 all the way to what's going to be the last video after this one. I feel free to post any questions you may have. But in this partner series, I describe 5 common phases I see partners go through in a relationship when their trans partner tends to come out to them and decide to transition without relationship or revisit relationship for you. We talked about a lot of the phases. This is the last phase that I tend to observe. The first phase is coming out phase. That's when your partner comes out to you, and I expressed what you may be feeling in that phase. The second phase is when the initial shock tends to settle in, and that's when you either catastrophize or tend to be in denial about the situation. Then there tends to be a third phase. That's when negotiations tends to kick in, and that's when what's fair, what's not fair. And then the fourth phase is the most important phase for the partners. This is where the grief and sadness comes up, and isolation and withdrawal, reality check kicks in. This is where you really have to think about what is working for you, what is not working for you. And then this is the fifth phase. After that phase, again, remember, all of the phases are not necessarily linear. They may occur to you at different stages. Some of them may be combination of a few of those stages, so they may be very different for everybody. So in this phase, the fifth phase, this is where the acceptance sips in. Now, reality check is one thing. Reality check is more like, wow, this is happening. Acceptance is, I accept this is happening. I am fully aware and cognizant and realizing that this is happening. In the acceptance phase, this is when compromising comes in. Remember how during negotiating phase I said that negotiations are usually about ultimatums. There's not about win-win. It's about my way or a highway, in terms of what feels fair to me and what feels unjust. In compromising phase, during the acceptance phase, this is when you have gone through what's fair, what's not fair, you're over that, you're realizing it's never going to be about fair. Hopefully you do realize that. You've gone through sadness, and hopefully you processed, ideally with the help of a therapist, the emotion that came up for you, what you're feeling. And now this is when you came to full realization. During the acceptance phase, you may also have come to awareness and realization that I'm just not attracted to women, or I'm just not attracted to men, and I just can't imagine being with a man. I still love my partner, but I'm just not attracted to men. I'm not attracted to non-binary, or whatever gender identity your partner is. You may realize that I still like you as a person. I may love you as a person, but I'm not in love with you as a person because gender for me matters that much. So could be the acceptance that you come to. You may be realizing that. You also may be realizing that, wow, even though it was initially shocking for me and I may have given you ultimatum, I'm realizing that as a result of transition, a lot of your dysphoria has gone away. I'm realizing that as a result, you're less withdrawn and you're dissociating less. I'm realizing you're more present. Wow, I'm realizing you're emotionally attuned to me. You've never been this emotionally attuned to me. I'm realizing we're more connected. I'm realizing we're more intimate and more open with each other. And I'm realizing that even though this is still challenging and I'm maybe not super find it super attractive in your gender identity, I'm having all of this intimacy coming in as a result of this emotional connection. So you may be realizing that transition actually bringing your relationship closer together, because all of those things are coming up, and they definitely do come up. I see that in the couples all the time. So it could be coming to acceptance that comes out of this realization. One of the things to notice, and this is statistically very common for cisgender women in relationships, your sexuality statistically tends to be more fluid, in a sense that cisgender women are more likely to be more adaptable about their sexuality, more fluid. Lisa Diamond, a researcher, wrote a book about it called Sexual Fluidity, where she talked about this. So it's much more common for cisgender women to adapt their sexuality to a newly expressed gender identity of their trans partner. It is harder for cisgendered men, but it is much more easier for cis women. So keep that in mind, that there is that fluidity to sexuality as well that is happening for you. But a lot of things during this acceptance phase tend to take place. Like I said, this is the phase when you really starting to see things for what they are, and you are starting to accept. And out of that room for acceptance, this is where the compromise comes in. Now, compromises are all about win-win. Compromises are now no longer about what's fair, what's not fair. It's not about justifying. Compromises are about, this is hard. I'm acknowledging it's hard for me. I'm acknowledging it's hard for you. I'm learning with you. I'm growing with you. I still want to be with you. I can see you still want to be with me. We have this great emotional investment in relationship. Okay, so what can we do to lift each other up? What can we do to continue growing together? This is where you're having that open conversation. This is where you should be having this open conversation. This is where a trans partner should be able to ask you, okay, what do you need me to do? Should I slow down? Is this too much for you? What can we work on? This is where the partner also says to trans partner, this is what working for me right now. This is a little too much. This I can handle. Can we spend more time together so I can get to know you intimately more? Can we spend more time together so that I can get to know the dormant part of your personality more that is coming up to the surface? This is compromising zone where the two of you are almost doing a newly dancing dating dance, where as if you're meeting each other for the first time. I gotta be honest with you, couples who make it to the compromise stage of acceptance, it's the type of couples who most likely already had an emotional bank that was already relatively emotionally rich. These are not the couples who had been bickering and fighting throughout their marriage, and now transition is just adds the final straw. Those couples, in my experience, tend to pretty much often break up. This is a couple that really care for each other. This is a couple that says, let's do this dating dance and see where it takes us. You may not be at this compromising stage fully committed, in the sense of you may not guarantee that I will stay with you as a partner, and that's okay. But because you're compromising, you're willing to be more open in your dialogue, and you're more willing to be open to say that I don't know yet, but I don't want to rush. I want to try it. I want to see where it's going to take me. I want to see what I discover. I want to see if I can fall in love again. I want to see if this is going to work for us. So notice how the compromising nature has a lot of flexibility around it, has a lot of room, has a lot of compassion, has a lot of empathy, has a lot of kindness, has a lot of gentleness to it. You have to be a couple that cares about each other from the get-go before a partner came out to even be able to allow yourself compromise stage. Again, couples who make it to compromise, and if you're watching this, you made it to compromising phase, you know that you made it not because you've been bickering and fighting for years. You know that you made it, let me have some sip before I cough. You know that you made it because also you have that investment. You know that you are still emotionally connected. You're still mutually connected. And that's really, really, really important. This is not the compromising stage where you decide to stay together for the sake of kids. Staying together for the sake of kids, in my opinion, is not necessarily compromise, because unless you're going to make it work without resentment and contempt. If you decide to stay for the sake of kids, but resenting each other and having contempt, one way or another, no matter how young the kids are or how old they are, they're going to feel it's going to pick up on that energy of resentment and contempt, and it's not worth it. This is the stage where you're having open dialogue. This is where you are reinvesting in your emotional bank. This is the stage where, as if your emotional bank was full, then the partner came out to you. As a result of that coming out, it created a little bit of strain in your emotional bank. Maybe your emotional bank has become a little bit lost a little bit of funds because of that strain, but it's still rich, it's still doing well. This is where you are going to reinvest by spending time with each other. This is where you're going to give each other that dating dance and see where it takes you. Again, it may or may not be about commitment. I've seen couples who renewed the vowels. You guys get the point. The vowels during this phase. This is where they recommit to each other, and that's a beautiful thing. I've seen couples where they say, commitment is off the table. Let's just see what's going to happen. Let's just see what we can do for each other. But I'm not necessarily promising I can stick around with this, but let's see where it goes. Again, it's an open-mindedness that makes this phase very, very successful. So if you find yourself in this phase, consider yourself lucky. If you're in a compromising phase, good for you. That means you already had solid ground in your relationship. Or it also could be that you're a relatively new couple. Because you're a relatively new couple, it also could be that you're a younger couple. Younger people tend to be more gender fluid, more kind of open and flexible toward gender identities. It could be also that you fall into that category, but nonetheless, congratulations. This is a great phase to be in. This is where a beautiful dance begins. This is where the dance of rediscovery begins. And hopefully, ideally, if you're able to rediscover yourself in this phase and fall in love with yourself, with each other in this phase, this is where your relationship will be solider than it's ever before. I've seen couples who've been together for 20, 30, 40 years, and they have rediscovered themselves in this phase. And as a result of also going through transition together, they have a super solid, rockful marriage that just cannot be shaken up. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But you have to come into this phase with already somewhat emotional investment in your bank. You can't come in with resentment and anger and feeling righteous. It's not going to work. So comment below, let me know. Are you the couple who got to that phase? Have you been there with your partner? Are you the partner who are in that phase? Are you compromising? What are you willing to do for the relationship? How are you going to rediscover each other? What are the challenges you're still facing during this phase? This is also the phase could be where the trans partner is further along in transition. There could be they could have gotten surgery or surgeries. This is where partners are discovering their new body, where partners are discovering their trans partner's new body, how they feel toward their body, how they themselves feel toward their trans partner body. This is where things become sensual, sexual, and intimate in a different way, and people start to learn and adapt to each other and relate to each other in a different way. And this is a very beautiful phase. I might have as well called it blossoming phase. If people get to it, it's a beautiful blossoming phase to be in. So if you're in this phase, this is again, it's a phase of rediscovery. It's a phase of also open-mindedness. Don't be afraid of this phase. It's all about exploration, really. It's all about exploring each other. This is not about committing. You can if you want, again, but this is not about, I promise you I will never leave you. Again, you can. But this is just about, I'm open to explore. I love you, I care about you, I want to be with you, and I'm open to explore. And let's explore and see where it takes us. So comment below, let me know if you've been in this phase, what this phase has been like for you. What did you discover in this phase? Did you discover that this made your relationship even stronger, or what came out of it? And then stay around for wrap up 7th video in the series where I give some additional tips and guidance how to get through all of these phases.